There exists a garden inside your mind. It is vast, fertile, and endlessly productive. Every thought you think is a seed planted in this sacred soil. Every word you speak waters these seeds. Every emotion you feel provides the sunlight that determines what grows. And here's what most people never realize. This garden is always producing. It never rests. It never stops growing. The only question is whether you're cultivating roses or weeds. Right now, as you process these words, seeds are being planted. As you've moved through your day, through your week, through your life, you've been unconsciously sowing a crop that will determine your future harvest. But here's the profound truth that will change everything. Once you understand the law of the mental garden, you can become the master gardener of your own destiny. I've spent my life studying the invisible forces that govern human experience, and I can tell you this with absolute certainty. Your thoughts are not random, powerless things that drift through your consciousness like clouds across the sky. They are living seeds of creation, each one carrying within it the blueprint for its eventual manifestation in your physical reality. When you think a thought of limitation, you plant a seed of lack. When you dwell on fear, you cultivate anxiety. When you rehearse failure in your mind, you're preparing the soil for disappointment. But when you think thoughts of abundance, when you focus on possibility, when you nurture ideas of success and joy and love, you plant the seeds of a life that will astound you with its beauty and abundance. This isn't wishful thinking. This isn't New Age fantasy. This is the fundamental law of creation that operates as surely as gravity pulls objects toward the earth. The ancients knew it. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, declared the wise King Solomon. Jesus himself taught this when he said, "According to your faith be it unto you." I have always taught that faith without works is dead, and the first work is the work of right thinking. Modern quantum physicists are discovering what the scriptures have declared for millennia. Consciousness creates reality at the most fundamental level of existence. But knowledge without application is worthless. You can understand the law of the mental garden intellectually and still live in poverty, sickness, and despair if you don't learn to tend your thoughts with the same care a master gardener tends their prize roses. Look at your life right now. Look at your relationships, your bank account, your health, your opportunities. What you see is the harvest of seeds you planted months and years ago through your dominant thoughts and beliefs. If you're not satisfied with the harvest, the solution isn't to dig up the crop, it's to plant different seeds starting today. This realization can be overwhelming. It means taking complete responsibility for your mental diet. It means acknowledging that every complaint, every worry, every moment of self-doubt has been contributing to a harvest you may not want. But it also means something infinitely more powerful. You have the ability to completely transform your life by changing what you plant in the garden of your mind. The great achievers throughout history understood this principle instinctively. When Thomas Edison faced his 10,000th failed attempt at creating the light bulb, he didn't plant seeds of defeat in his mental garden. He planted seeds of learning, seeds of persistence, seeds of inevitable success. "I have not failed," he said. "I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Each failure was simply composted into fertilizer for his eventual triumph. When Henry Ford envisioned the Model T, he wasn't planting seeds of what was possible within the current reality. He was planting seeds of what could become possible through focused intention and unwavering belief. When critics told him his vision was impossible, he didn't allow their doubt to contaminate his mental garden. He cultivated his vision until it grew strong enough to reshape the world. These weren't superhuman beings. They were ordinary people who had learned to be extraordinary gardeners of their own consciousness. They understood that every thought is a choice, and every choice is a seed that will eventually produce a harvest. As I teach, you can only receive what you give. Give love, and love comes back to you. Give thoughts of success, and success comes back to you. Give thoughts of abundance, and abundance flows into your life like rivers flowing to the sea. The tragedy is that most people are unconscious gardeners. They allow any seed to blow into their mental garden on the winds of circumstance. They accept whatever thoughts happen to arise without questioning their origin or their potential harvest. They let the media plant seeds of fear and scarcity. They let negative people plant seeds of doubt and limitation. They let their own past failures plant seeds of self-doubt and resignation. But you have the power to change this right now. You can become a conscious gardener. You can choose your seeds deliberately. You can create the exact harvest you desire by planting only the thoughts that align with your highest vision of what's possible. This requires vigilance. A gardener doesn't plant their seeds once and then ignore the garden for months. They tend it daily. They water it consistently. They remove the weeds before they take over. They protect their tender shoots from harsh weather. They celebrate each sign of growth and adjust their care as needed. Your mental garden requires the same attention. You must monitor what seeds you're planting moment by moment. When you catch yourself thinking a thought that doesn't serve your highest good, you must consciously redirect your attention. When you notice weeds of worry or doubt beginning to sprout, you must remove them immediately before they spread. This isn't about positive thinking in some superficial way. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist or plastering a fake smile over genuine concerns. This is about understanding the creative power of consciousness and wielding that power with the skill of a master craftsman. As Jesus said, "Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you." But we must ask with the right consciousness, seek with the right thoughts, and knock with the right faith. When challenges arise, and they will, you don't ignore them. But you also don't plant seeds of catastrophe and defeat. Instead, you plant seeds of wisdom, seeds of strength, seeds of creative solutions. You ask empowering questions that guide your mind toward productive thinking. How can I grow from this experience? What opportunity might be hidden in this challenge? How can I use this situation to become stronger and wiser? As I always say, the Chinese use 2 brush strokes to write the word crisis. One brush stroke stands for danger, the other for opportunity. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your thinking, and the quality of your thinking determines the quality of your harvest. Poor questions produce poor thinking, which produces poor results. But masterful questions produce masterful thinking, which produces extraordinary results. Consider Sara Blakely, who transformed a simple idea into a billion-dollar empire. When she conceived of Spanx, she didn't plant seeds of all the reasons it couldn't work. She didn't focus on her lack of experience in fashion or business. Instead, she planted seeds of possibility. She nurtured thoughts of women feeling confident and beautiful. She cultivated a vision of solving a real problem in an elegant way. When she faced rejection after rejection from manufacturers, she didn't allow those setbacks to plant seeds of defeat in her mental garden. She composted each no into fertilizer for her persistence. She maintained her vision with such clarity and consistency that eventually reality had no choice but to conform to the pattern she had established in consciousness. Or look at Oprah Winfrey, who grew from a childhood of poverty and abuse into one of the most influential people on the planet. She could have planted seeds of victimhood, seeds of limitation, seeds of resentment. Instead, she chose to plant seeds of service, seeds of growth, seeds of possibility. Every challenge became an opportunity to cultivate greater compassion. Every setback became soil for deeper wisdom. This is the power of conscious gardening. You don't control what happens to you, but you absolutely control what you plant in response to what happens to you. And that makes all the difference between a life of random suffering and a life of purposeful growth. Man can only receive what he sees himself receiving, I teach. When you see yourself receiving wisdom from every challenge, strength from every trial, and blessing from every experience, that is exactly what you will receive. This is the promise Jesus made when he said, "All things work together for good to them that love God." The most successful people in any field have learned to guard their mental garden with fierce protection. They're selective about what they read, what they watch, whom they spend time with. They understand that every input is a potential seed, and they want only seeds that will produce the harvest they desire. They've learned to fast from negative media that plants seeds of fear and despair. They've learned to limit their exposure to complainers and pessimists who scatter weed seeds wherever they go. They've learned to feast on input that plants seeds of inspiration, wisdom, and possibility. But they've also learned something even more important. They've learned to trust the process. They understand that seeds don't sprout overnight. They plant their seeds of success, abundance, love, and joy. And then they water them consistently with positive emotion and unwavering faith, even when they can't yet see any evidence of growth. As I teach, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This is not blind faith, but intelligent faith based on understanding the law of cause and effect in consciousness. This is where most people fail. They plant a seed of prosperity on Monday, but when they don't see immediate results, they dig it up on Wednesday to see if it's growing. They plant a seed of love but become impatient when the relationship doesn't immediately transform. They plant a seed of health but lose faith when the healing doesn't happen instantly. Master gardeners know better. They plant their seeds with intention, tend them with consistency, and trust the invisible process of growth. They understand that the most important work happens beneath the surface, in the darkness, where transformation occurs at the deepest level. Infinite Spirit, open the way for my great abundance, they declare. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. They know that their persistent, positive declarations are creating underground root systems that will eventually burst forth into magnificent manifestation. Every seed contains within it not just the potential for one plant, but for entire forests. An apple seed doesn't just produce one apple. It produces a tree that can yield thousands of apples over its lifetime, each containing seeds for thousands more trees. Your thoughts work the same way. One powerful thought, consistently maintained, can produce results far beyond what your logical mind can imagine. When Walt Disney first conceived of Disneyland, he wasn't just planting a seed for an amusement park. He was planting a seed for a new kind of family entertainment, for the preservation of imagination in an increasingly cynical world, for the demonstration that dreams really can come true. That single seed of thought, carefully tended and protected against the harsh winds of skepticism and doubt, eventually grew into a global empire that continues to touch millions of lives decades after his death. This is the multiplying power of thoughts when they're planted with clear intention and nurtured with unwavering faith. But it requires you to think beyond the immediate harvest. It requires you to plant seeds, not just for next season, but for the legacy you want to leave, for the impact you want to have, for the person you want to become. The master gardener also understands the importance of crop rotation. They don't plant the same seeds in the same soil year after year, because that depletes the nutrients and reduces the harvest. In your mental garden, this means continuously challenging yourself to grow in new directions, to plant seeds of experiences and capabilities you've never cultivated before. If you've been planting only seeds of financial security, perhaps it's time to plant seeds of adventure and creativity. If you've been focusing only on professional success, perhaps your garden needs seeds of deeper relationships and spiritual growth. If you've been consumed with solving problems, perhaps you need to plant more seeds of gratitude and appreciation for what's already blooming in your life. The most beautiful gardens have variety. They have roses and vegetables, fruit trees and flowers, herbs for healing, and blooms for pure beauty. Your mental garden should be equally diverse, with thoughts that nurture every aspect of your human experience. But diversity doesn't mean chaos. A master gardener has a plan. They know what they want to grow and where they want to grow it. They understand which plants grow well together and which ones compete for resources. They know when to plant for the best harvest and how to prepare the soil for optimal growth. Your mental garden needs the same thoughtful planning. You need to be intentional about what thoughts you cultivate and when you cultivate them. You need to understand which thoughts support each other and which ones create internal conflict. You need to prepare your consciousness for the seeds you want to plant by removing old limiting beliefs that would choke out new growth. This preparation is crucial. You can't plant seeds of abundance in soil that's been poisoned by thoughts of unworthiness. You can't grow love in a heart that's hardened by resentment. You can't cultivate peace in a mind that's been trained to seek constant stimulation and drama. Sometimes the most important work in your mental garden isn't planting new seeds. It's clearing out the weeds that have taken over. This means honestly examining your habitual thought patterns and being willing to uproot beliefs that no longer serve you, even if they've been with you for years. It means composting old resentments into forgiveness. It means transforming fears into excitement about growth. It means converting self-criticism into self-compassion. It means turning regrets about the past into wisdom for the future. This clearing work can be challenging because we often become attached to our weeds. We identify with our limitations. We find perverse comfort in our complaints. We mistake our wounds for our identity. But a master gardener knows that attachment to weeds will prevent the garden from reaching its full potential. The great spiritual teachers throughout history have all pointed to this same truth in different languages. Buddha spoke of the mind as a garden that must be tended with mindfulness. Jesus taught that we reap what we sow, saying, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." The Hindu scriptures declare that we become what we meditate upon. Indigenous wisdom keepers have always understood that thoughts are prayers, and prayers shape reality. I have always taught that every man has within himself the power of grasping good and bringing it into his life. This isn't ancient superstition, it's the most practical wisdom you can ever learn. Because every day, every hour, every moment, you're planting seeds in the garden of your consciousness. The question isn't whether this process is happening, it's whether you're going to participate consciously or unconsciously. When you wake up tomorrow morning, you'll have a choice. You can plant seeds of dread about the challenges you'll face, or you can plant seeds of excitement about the opportunities you'll discover. You can plant seeds of resentment about past hurts, or you can plant seeds of gratitude for lessons learned. You can plant seeds of worry about the future, or you can plant seeds of faith in your ability to handle whatever comes. These choices seem small in the moment, but over time, they compound into the harvest of your entire life experience. The master gardener understands this compound effect and makes every seed count. They start each day by consciously planting seeds of their highest intentions. They might plant seeds of energy and vitality as they exercise, declaring, "Divine energy floods my being. I am strong, whole, and perfect." They might plant seeds of wisdom and insight as they read or meditate, affirming, "Infinite intelligence reveals to me everything I need to know." They might plant seeds of love and connection as they interact with others, knowing that love never faileth, as the scriptures promise. They end each day by planting seeds of gratitude for the blessings they've received and seeds of anticipation for the growth that continues even while they sleep. This consistency is everything. Amateur gardeners plant enthusiastically in spring when the weather is perfect and motivation is high, but they neglect their garden during the challenging seasons. Master gardeners understand that the garden needs attention year-round, in all kinds of weather, regardless of how they feel. Your mental garden is the same. The seeds you plant during difficult times are often the most important ones because they determine how you'll emerge from the challenge. The thoughts you choose when you're discouraged, overwhelmed, or afraid will determine whether you grow stronger or become defeated by life's inevitable storms. This is when the deepest transformation happens. Not when everything is easy, but when you consciously choose thoughts of growth, strength, and possibility, even when circumstances seem to argue against them. These are the seeds that produce the most magnificent harvests because they grow in the richest soil of human experience. Consider the example of Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps by maintaining his inner freedom to choose his thoughts even when everything else had been stripped away. In the darkest possible circumstances, he planted seeds of meaning, seeds of love for his wife, seeds of hope for the future, seeds of service to his fellow prisoners. Like Job in the Bible, he refused to curse God despite his suffering, instead declaring his faith that his Redeemer liveth. Like Jesus himself, who even on the cross prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," Frankl chose thoughts of forgiveness and service even in the face of ultimate persecution. Those seeds, planted in the most barren soil imaginable, eventually grew into a philosophy that has transformed millions of lives. His book, Man's Search for Meaning, continues to plant seeds of resilience and purpose in readers decades after his death. This is the incredible power of choosing your thoughts consciously, especially in, the most challenging circumstances. You may not face such extreme conditions, but you face your own version of difficult soil every time you encounter setbacks, disappointments, criticism, or failure. These moments are not punishments. They're opportunities to plant the seeds that will produce your strongest growth. When someone criticizes you unfairly, you can plant seeds of resentment and defensiveness, or you can plant seeds of compassion and understanding. When you face a financial setback, you can plant seeds of panic and scarcity, or you can plant seeds of creativity and resourcefulness. When a relationship ends, you can plant seeds of bitterness and self-pity, or you can plant seeds of gratitude for the growth and seeds of faith in love's return. The choice is always yours, and the choice always matters more than the circumstance. This is the ultimate freedom and the ultimate responsibility. No one can force you to plant destructive seeds in your mental garden, and no one can prevent you from planting seeds of beauty, strength, and possibility. But this freedom comes with a price. You must accept complete responsibility for your harvest. You can't blame your parents for the weeds in your adult garden. You can't blame society for the lack of abundance in your experience. You can't blame your circumstances for the quality of your thoughts. As I teach, man's supply is inexhaustible and unfailing when fully grasped and utilized. The problem is never the supply. It's our consciousness of the supply. Jesus reminded us that our Father in heaven knows what we need before we ask, and He has already provided it. Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. This might seem harsh at first, but it's actually the most liberating truth you can embrace. If your current harvest is the result of seeds you've planted, then you have the power to plant different seeds and create a completely different harvest. You're not a victim of circumstances. You're a gardener with the power to transform any soil into a source of beauty and abundance. The ancient principle, as above, so below, applies perfectly to your mental garden. What you create in the invisible realm of consciousness will eventually manifest in the visible realm of experience. The thoughts you think today are creating the reality you'll experience tomorrow. The emotions you feel consistently are shaping the relationships and opportunities that will come to you. The beliefs you hold are determining what's possible in your life. This is why the masters have always emphasized the importance of right thinking, not because thoughts are all that matter, but because thoughts are the seeds from which everything else grows. Right action flows from right thinking. Right relationships grow from right consciousness. Right abundance springs from right beliefs about what you deserve and what's possible. When you truly understand this principle, you'll never again allow yourself to think carelessly. You'll become as selective about your thoughts as you are about the food you eat or the people you spend time with. You'll develop what I call thought hygiene, the practice of monitoring and choosing your mental input as carefully as you choose your physical input. As I always teach, words and thoughts are a tremendous vibratory force ever molding man's body and affairs. Just as Jesus warned us to be careful what you hear, and out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh, we must guard our consciousness with vigilant love. This doesn't mean becoming obsessive or rigid about your thoughts. A master gardener doesn't stress about every single seed that might blow into their garden on the wind. They focus on deliberately planting the seeds they want and consistently tending those seeds with water, sunlight, and care. They gently remove weeds when they notice them, but don't become paranoid about perfection. Your mental garden needs the same balanced attention. Focus primarily on consciously planting thoughts that align with your highest vision. Water those thoughts with positive emotion and consistent attention. Remove limiting thoughts when you notice them, but don't become anxious about having occasional negative thoughts. They're as natural as weeds in any garden. The key is developing the skill to recognize quickly when you're planting seeds that won't produce the harvest you desire, and then gently redirecting your attention to more productive thinking. This skill improves with practice, just like any other skill. The most successful people have made this practice automatic. When they catch themselves thinking thoughts of limitation, they immediately pivot to thoughts of possibility. When they notice worry creeping in, they redirect to trust and faith. When they feel criticism or judgment arising, they shift to compassion and understanding. This isn't about suppressing authentic emotions or avoiding real problems. It's about choosing the most productive way to think about whatever you're experiencing. Every situation can be approached from multiple mental angles, and the angle you choose will determine the seeds you plant and therefore the harvest you eventually reap. A business failure can be seen as evidence of your inadequacy, or it can be seen as valuable education for your next venture. A relationship ending can be viewed as proof that you're unlovable, or it can be seen as an opportunity to grow in self-love and attract a more compatible partner. A health challenge can be experienced as a curse and a limitation, or it can be embraced as a teacher that helps you develop greater wisdom about what truly matters in life. The circumstances are the same, but the seeds planted are completely different, and therefore the harvests that grow from those seeds will be completely different. This is the power of perspective, and perspective is always a choice. The master gardener also understands the importance of patience and trust in the growing process. Seeds don't sprout according to human timelines or impatience. They sprout according to their own natural rhythms and the conditions they encounter. Some seeds sprout quickly and produce immediate results. Others lie dormant for months or even years before suddenly bursting into magnificent growth. Your thought seeds work the same way. Some positive thoughts produce immediate improvements in your mood and energy. Others work slowly beneath the surface, gradually transforming your beliefs and expectations until one day you realize your entire life has shifted in beautiful ways you couldn't have imagined. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. It's better to plant small seeds of positive thinking every day than to have occasional bursts of inspired thinking followed by long periods of mental neglect. The garden that's tended daily, even for just a few minutes, will always outproduce the garden that receives sporadic attention. Make it your practice to consciously plant at least one powerful seed each morning. It might be a seed of gratitude for something beautiful in your life, declaring, "I give thanks for this perfect day. Miracle shall follow miracle, and wonders shall never cease." It might be a seed of excitement about a goal you're working toward, affirming, "My good now flows to me in a steady, unbroken, ever-increasing stream of success, happiness, and abundance." It might be a seed of love for someone who matters to you, knowing that love is God in manifestation and the strongest magnetic force in the universe. It might be a seed of faith in your ability to handle whatever challenges the day might bring, declaring, "God's protection surrounds me and His wisdom guides me." Water that seed throughout the day by returning to it whenever you remember. Feel the positive emotion associated with that thought. Visualize it growing and producing the harvest you desire. Protect it from the weeds of doubt or distraction that try to crowd it out. At the end of the day, plant seeds of gratitude for what grew in your garden that day. Even if you can't see dramatic changes yet, trust that the process is working. Trust that your consistent attention to positive seeds is creating positive changes in ways you may not yet perceive. And remember, your mental garden is not just creating your personal harvest. The thoughts you think, the emotions you cultivate, the beliefs you hold are all contributing to the collective consciousness of humanity. When you plant seeds of love, peace, and possibility in your own garden, you're helping to create a more loving, peaceful, and possibility-filled world for everyone. This is your legacy and your responsibility. Future generations will inherit the world that grows from the seeds being planted in human consciousness today. Make sure your contribution to that collective garden is worthy of the harvest you want your children and grandchildren to enjoy. Your thoughts are seeds. Plant only what you wish to harvest. Tend your garden with the care of a master. Trust the process of growth, and watch as your life transforms into the magnificent expression of beauty, abundance, and joy that you were always meant to experience. Remember the words of Jesus. "If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you." Abide in right thinking. Let the words of truth abide in your consciousness, and ask for the harvest of your highest dreams, knowing that it is already yours by divine right. The garden of your mind awaits your conscious attention. What will you plant today?